What's going on, everybody? So today I have a very special guest. I met him just a couple of months ago, but really enjoyed our interactions. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Camacho. Jon, what's up, dude?
What's up?
Dude, I was excited because we met at Mike Robertson certification. What was this? It was basically it's for personal trainers that really want to elevate the things that they do for their clients, the things that they want to do for each other. And I hadn't done that in a while. I'll be honest, it was like years for me. Obviously I have a plethora of stuff on Jon in all his accolades, which is amazing. You played soccer, lacrosse, basketball. If you look at him, you'd say if he stands up, he's just going to dwarf me. Graduated from CCSU, degree in biology. Jon is certified National Council of Strength and Fitness. He also has his corrective exercise specialist NASM, and I can literally go on forever. Also this one I really, really like. As far as for finalists and best in West Hartford Magazine, best personal trainer. I like that too, because the people, vote on that one. So that's good too. Yeah. So you are a man of many accomplishments, and I think that's why I was really, really drawn to talk with you and see it. You could see it in the way that you carry yourself, and in our industry, and we can get into that too. Our industry, we get a lot of noise. We get being in the fitness industry, being in the health industry. You get a lot of noise. You get a lot of people talking, and not a whole lot of substance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it had been a while for me too to go to a certification, but I'm always reading articles. I'm YouTubing and on Instagram. It's not the best resource, but it gets your ideas flowing, and then you want to fact check it, right, and go on the back end. But to actually be in person, well, first we had COVID for a while. Yeah. So that put a nix on it, but I always loved going to Perform Better summits. I went down to Virginia one year for IDEA, Personal Training Institute. That was amazing. And I'm always constantly working on a certification. Like one I was working on before was, I'm going to blank on it.
Is it on here? I could tell you.
No, it's like, so I do so many that I kind of lose track, but basically it's like, training the older athlete, TOA.
Okay.
He won like NCSA Personal Trainer of the Year.
Yeah.
And basically it's geared towards older clients, which I love, but it gives you a structure, but it also covers balance and power and joint stuff that the older population, deals with, but you're not going to take that, you're not going to put a bar on them and do power clean, right? But for an older person, it's going to look different, but they still need that power. So he just gives you better ideas of how to approach it.
That's awesome.
And I love that. And so I'm always trying to learn, get better for my clients and do best by them.
Well, that's a huge thing for you to do, as far as, especially with the older population. I feel like we have the largest case study now. Like you and I have the largest amount of case study that we have on what not to do with the older population. I think that's a strong message, because, I went out to eat, I went out for breakfast before, and I'm sitting there, and in the morning, there's just a bunch of older people there, and I'm seeing them, and a lot of them were pushed into that message of, I'm 60 now, why would I weight train? No. It's the opposite. Why aren't you weight training? Why aren't you dealing with things that are going to help you with bone density, muscle density, tissue, hand grip strength, and quad strength, which is, now we know, as far as one of the leading, killers in elderly people or older people. It's one of those things where if they fall, they need to be able to get back up. And it really is that simple. And if they can't grab something, if they can't pull themselves up or use their quads, what is it? So that message is, that's tough.
Yeah, I feel like the old adage was, when I get to a certain age, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm hunched over. I'm using a not a stroller.
Walkers. They're using a stroller.
Oh my God, if they're using a stroller, Walker, right.
Yeah.
So, but that's not true. I mean, it's, I think the poster child of that was Jack LaLanne, right? Like,
yes.
He moved every day. He did 2-hour workouts, going out in the snow, doing push-ups. He was a little extreme, but that idea that if you just keep moving, you keep a lot of it and you stop a lot of regression.
Yes. Yeah, very true.
And that's so important. And speaking of balance, like I read somewhere that if you fall, I think it's after the age of 65, if you fall and you break your hip, you have a 50% chance of surviving.
Yes.
Like living.
Yes.
Because the blood clots are so large, it just compromises the system and you're just gonna stop.
You're just gonna not be able and
not recover.
And possibly, I mean, you have that too. But you also have, I have 2 examples of this, and I'm glad that we're talking about this because I feel like you're one of the finer examples I've had the pleasure of running into, because when you and I spoke, it was you were talking very much in the future and how you wanted to change, how you wanted to do. And obviously, like I said, you have this large list of accolades that I think you should be very proud of, and you have these things. That's what attracted me to go, okay, hey, I'm going to talk to Jon, just kind of see, pick his brain. I had 2 examples of that with 2 older people. I had this horrible story where one of my clients had fallen on a walking trail, and he fell on a walking trail. He was about 3 miles into the walking trail. It was a really, really chilly fall day. Like it was still it was almost in the 30s, and he fell, and he was a new client, and he fell, and he was trying to pick himself back up. He fell on his stomach. He was trying to actually pull up on a tree, and the tree was actually enough to get his hand around, but he couldn't grip it. He said so it would be like it was just falling out of his hand. I just told the story this morning too, which is weird. So he's trying to get up and couldn't. And he said, Ben, if that lady didn't walk by in 15 minutes later, he goes, I was there for 15 minutes. He goes, I would have probably died or just laid there, for days. I don't know. And that was a really horrific thing for me to hear. And he actually still trains with me to this day. So it's been about 6 years I've been training him. So it's been a great relationship, and now he's very strong, focuses a lot on grip, focuses a lot on heavy carries, stuff like that. But I actually trained a woman who was 73, fell down her stairs because she was training with me for 3 or 4 years. We focused a lot on getting off the ground, quad strength, grip strength. She was able to do a push-up, went back upstairs, called her son, and drove herself to the hospital. She busted her face up. Blood everywhere because she was on blood thinners, but blood everywhere, and still was able to do those things. So it is so important not to just go, hey, I'm 60. It is what it is. I'm going to do it. And I think that's more of comfort, you know,
and a little bit of mindset.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the last 20 years or so, people have been focusing way more on their health and fitness. Like, I mean, research has gone through the roof. And especially for general population, because it was so focused on athletes and, NFL basketball. But now, especially during COVID, that gave it another boost of like, hey, if you're not healthy, it could really put you at a really big risk.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so in our control. It's just really a lack of education and getting to the gym. But speaking to the grip thing too, there was another study that looked at longevity and also quality of life and grip strength. Not to say like if you just focus on grip strength, you're going to have a better quality of life, but it's sort of a indicator of what you're doing with your life. Basically, you're being active.
Yeah.
So you're grabbing barbells or grabbing rocks or something where you have to physically move. So you're working your heart, working your muscles. And if you have a stronger grip strength, you have a better quality of life. So training is so key. And there's another piece around stairs in a home, right?
Yes, I've read this one.
Right, if you have stairs as opposed to like living on one level in a ranch, you tend to have a higher quality of life.
Yeah,
and it's not just about getting to 90 or 100 or 110. you want those years to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's the quality of life. It's
Yeah.
not just life.
Right.
Yeah. Where maybe our grandparents or maybe a generation earlier, it was like, oh, you can live to your 90. It's like, okay, but you never went outside. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's fine. What type of quality of life did you have?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's very true. The grip strength one was interesting too, because I believe if I read it right, and it was on Andrew Huberman's podcast.
Yeah.
I believe that it is a reduction by 3 times reduction in all case mortality, like related to just living longer, the longevity with grip strength too.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know that sauna is also a big one. So it's like sauna, stairs. I read the one about grip strength too. And
cold.
And and cold of course, cold therapy too, which is very good for inflammatory markers, and also had been for, I believe, originally for mental health. They were using it for like cold shock therapy, like getting people to like it's like not epinephrine. Is it epinephrine? Yeah, like to kind of flush that out. So if you were like depressed, it's like take a cold shower. You're like, go take a cold shower. It's like one of those types of things.
Yeah, it's just very grounding.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Being in an ice bath, there's nothing else you can think about.
Yeah,
except being right there.
Except for being in there
at that moment. It brings you home.
Yeah, I've experimented. We have a cryotherapy tank here in our facility, and then we have we also have a sauna too, so we do both.
Yeah.
But I took cold showers for like 2 years. This is. I didn't even read Wim Hof, so it was just before I read Wim Hof's book.
Yeah.
And I was just doing it because somebody was like, hey, you should try this out. It's really, really good, because I was having elbow and shoulder pain. And it was just because I was lifting way too much and just doing stuff, the frequency.
Yeah.
I've talked about my experience with cold showers, and I think that it has to do with your mindset. It's like, if you want to toughen up, and I mean that in the way that people don't like when you say that. It's like, hey, toughen up. If you want to toughen up, and if you want to perhaps push yourself a little bit more mentally, cold showers is a great way to do it.
Absolutely. It's more, I think it's more mental than it is physical, because there's 1,000%. So many excuses. You have to set it up. You have to turn the shower too cold. And it's such a great mental exercise. I love that. I know I sleep the best when I get in a cryo chamber, and I do it a couple days in a row. Oh my God. If I'm not sleeping well, that puts me into deep recovering sleep. I love it. It's
a great way. I've noticed the difference in sleep, but I've also noticed a difference in, this might just be for me. I don't know this, but I have read this, that some people, the increase in sexual appetite for sure. Because for me, it is almost a reason to stop.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, my poor wife, this is so bad. No, and that is was one of the things I noticed. And we're talking long-term shower stuff. I mean, my testosterone levels I had tested a long time ago, and he was like, they're great. You're fine. And because I was worried, but my vitamin D levels later on was suffering. But then I started to kind of look into that other stuff, which is why I regulate that. But cold showers for me, if I'm taking them too long, can be, you're almost like, oh man, this is wild. Me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but as far as the mental toughness, I think that it's a great way for you to challenge yourself in a really measurable way, because it's like, hey, I'm going to do it for 2 minutes. I'm going to do it for 3 or 4.
Right.
Or I believe the goal is usually 8 minutes. 6 to 8 is usually very good. Correct.
So something like that. What I really love about Andrew Huberman is he's getting really prescriptive.
Yeah.
And he's doing the research. So I listened recently on a podcast, and he said 11 minutes is sort of the key number to hit.
11.
For cold.
Really?
Like, how precise is that?
That's pretty dope. 11 minutes. Yeah.
So if you accumulate that, and I think it's just as cold as you can tolerate.
Yeah.
You'll start to get all those health benefits. And I'm not exactly sure, but there are a ton, and I know them like anecdotally for me, and for my girlfriend and other friends that have done it consistently. They're sleeping better. They're typically healthier. They're not really getting sick.
Yeah.
They're recovering better. It's such a simple yet challenging thing that you can do to immediately boost your health.
I think so
it.
too. Yeah, I think so too. But we'll have to talk if we did and might be speaking out kind of out of our element. But we're certainly absorbing all the tools that we can have.
Yeah.
If we talk about cold, we have to talk about heat as well. The sauna.
Yeah.
The sauna is one of those things. Once again, I think it's just mental toughness thing, man. Like I really do.
Yeah.
The people who I see or who I've met and, who are going in the sauna with me or we've gone in the sauna or cold, it's usually they could do both. Like they're like, no, man, I was in the sauna for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The benefit in just being able to sweat, opening up those capillaries, opening up those tissues are equally as good, or equally as critical. So I've added those to my care regimen, especially for my mental. We keep going back to mental health. I think we're going to end up talking a lot about it. For my mental health, for sure. Yeah. And it's something I do to unwind. Yeah. I just sit in the sauna for. I know everybody sees my picture that I take of myself shirtless in the sauna. Not as flattering, I imagine, if Jon took off his shirt in the sauna. But me, it's fine. It's fine. It'll do the trick. But to do it, it really is such a mentally just relax type of thing. Even though you are suffering, though, too.
You are, but this idea of it bringing you home. So I think a lot of times when we're going through life and things start to get stressful and we start to lose our footing, it's because we're so much in our head and we're kind of up here and we're trying to figure out and do this and do that and get to our to-do list. What I find is when I'm in the hot sauna, which I've done for many years at my old gym, I used to literally go in there for half an hour and sweat.
Yeah.
Sweat. And later I would do ice baths, or at least at the end of a shower, turn it on for 30 seconds. And I think I built up to like 3 minutes. And I did this for months. And
after the sauna?
No. So I would take a shower.
Okay.
And then after every shower, it would always, when I'm, done, I'd be like, all right, it's time to go. And just before I'm like about to step out of the shower, I just turn it to cold.
Yeah.
For myself and just start breathing.
Yeah.
And breathing really
is everything.
And it, again, brings you home. So I can't think about what I have to do next, like grocery shopping or whatever task I have or whatever client's plan I have to do. So it's sort of like a reset, and it makes you still. And I think from there, after you have that reset, you see things a lot more clearly, that everything isn't a fire or isn't a giant fire like you had thought previously. You can go, oh yeah, that's what I need to do next.
I like the way that you describe that as it's not a fire. I always say, we can quote Marcus Aurelius on this, but I like to say that things don't actually have to bother you. You don't have to be so reactive to things, and it isn't as big of a thing that you thought it was. So when you do those things, that's where that mentally grounded, you really feel present, because you were like, wow, look at how much you can endure, you could take, you can struggle, you can really embrace it. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. And I think for a lot of people who get wrapped up in the day-to-day stuff, that very much like wake up, wake up, that's no way to wake up. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you wake up, you get in your car, you spill your coffee a little bit. Oh God, this is gonna be a terrible day. Then you go to work,
Yeah.
And it's just this constant state of irritation,
Totally.
So what I've noticed and what has helped is those momentary things. I talked about it today. It's one of my two favorite things is to laugh a lot and to train extremely hard. Train hard, laugh a lot, because you also can't take yourself too seriously either. Life is a very dark comedy. You know what I mean? It really is. Yeah. So those moments where we can suffer or push ourselves or put ourselves in a stressful state clears the mind of all the day-to-day garbage that you can go, it is what it is. You start talking and you start saying stuff like this one statement, which is, it is what it is. And when you run into somebody like that, where it's traffic and they're like, it is what it is. I can't change it. I'm not going to let it,
Yeah.
or, hey, I didn't get a ton of good sleep. I'll get some good sleep tomorrow. It is what it is. You start running into somebody like that, or stay with them. That is a valuable thing.
Totally.
And those are the types of people I imagine, you and I are around a lot,
Definitely. And you pick up little things, because you can actually shift your mindset. Just because you're thinking that way now doesn't mean you can't be different.
That you and I have talked about, because we've talked a couple of times, and we're talking about it today with the mental health. I think that it's the stuff that you've worked with a lot of men that you've talked to about their mental health, or a lot of men that you've talked to and spoke with. So maybe, if you can give me a little bit of an insight on that.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And I think it'd be helpful to the people, like I said, listening to kind of where could they go to find that help?
Yeah. So, very, very long story short, I was looking for help, and around, went to therapy in my teens. My mom didn't know sort of what was going on, dealing with a lot of depression and suicidal thoughts. And then in college, something major came up, and I just needed support. I needed help. So I reached out to a counselor. This counselor essentially, would see me one-on-one, but he's like, there's this group of other guys that are also sort of dealing with similar stuff, at least hard life stuff. And that was my first introduction into men's groups.
Yeah.
And basically the men's groups is talking about daily stuff, stuff that goes on, or things that slight you or you feel wronged about, but also the good stuff. And then it sort of like, as the closeness and the trust and sort of the container gets built, you start to dive deeper into heavier, darker stuff that you can't bring to your significant other or your parents or even your best friend. Because a lot of times, and this is very much of my story, that not being able to talk about things that are really bothering me, man, it really does eat at you and erode you. And once I learned that, oh man, if I just talk about this, it sort of sheds a light on this darkness. There's a healing that starts, and you can really grow from it and not let it hold you back. It's huge.
Yeah.
So anyways, fast forward through that, I get introduced to men's group, and then I started seeking out other men's groups. And it was a really sort of hard time in my life. I was really dealing with this heavy consequence. And one thing led to another, and I found this organization called COMEGA. It stands for the Connecticut Men's Gathering Association. And basically, they meet twice a year, and there's workshops that happen. There's an opening ceremony, a closing ceremony. But really, it's about men just getting together in a supportive, truly supportive environment where you can drop into some really heavy stuff that's bothering you. And I've heard incredible stories about things that people are going through privately. These are people that own companies that have big roles in big companies, to people that haven't even gotten their GED or finished high school.
Yeah.
And, their spouse or their daughter or something is going through something really tragic. And just hearing these stories, it's really amazing to not only see how much they are kind of just like a weight is lifted off their back, because now you have men supporting you and hearing you. But the next time you see them, something's a little different.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 years later, all of a sudden they're a little taller, or they're just, things in life are going a little bit better. And I love it. I fell truly in love with this because it helped change me so much. And this is a part of something that I really want to continue and grow. And I would love to fuse this passion that I have for health and fitness and optimizing human performance, not just on a physical level, but on a mental and spiritual level, and diving into men, really supporting men, not in a toxic way. And I'm not sure how I really feel about that term yet, but in a true way.
I think, because for me, I'm with you on that one. Like with that one, I'm always just like, oh God, but I think you're right, in a true way, in men supporting other men in a way that is
honest.
Honest, truthful, integrity. Where there's the loyalty. So the loyalty part, I think men require, in my experience of being a man, I honestly could say loyalty is the thing I look for with friendship, with a group like that. And it's so big because then all the other stuff is kind of built in with that.
It's huge.
And it is huge. I agree with you.
You need that loyalty and trust, because there's a reason why a man can't go to someone in their life to open up, is because there isn't enough trust or loyalty there that, hey, if I tell you this thing, I really have to know that this is going to stay with you and you're not going to blast it on social media or use it against me at a later time.
It's the use it against me thing that I think that gets people.
That's huge.
Or gets men.
And at one point, someone has probably tried to do that.
Which is why they haven't.
And that's why they stopped, and they can't do that anymore. They can't use that as an outlet. So holding all that stuff in, but having another place where you trust other men, because they have to trust you too with their stuff. So there's really something really bonding about getting together in a close-knit group, spilling your guts, and just saying, like, I hear you.
Yeah. Right? But it's also the closest thing for some is friendship.
Oh yeah,
it's like being with your boys. I have I'll be doing another podcast later on tonight about, and it's with one of my best friends, and that guy knows, almost everything about me. And I think that when somebody knows something like that about you and has shown that they would not use it against you, they would only shoot you a look and be like, or whatever, or they would, bring it up when it is only you, or joke about something that's very off color, or just not quite up to the social standards or whatever. Right. That's what friendship is. And totally. So I think you going into a men's group like that, where you have people, who might be so busy they can't do anything, or they can't. So they finally made time for themselves. They're there. They see you, and you talked about something last year or the last meeting, and now they feel like they can confide into you because you're loyal. There you are after the meeting. You're having a drink. You're just hanging out, laughing together, and I think men need more of that. And I think we're less apt to reach out for help, and we're less apt to feel vulnerable, even with our partners. I mean, I have a very accepting and in a very good relationship, and even that vulnerability and there's a difference between weakness and vulnerability.
I agree.
Vulnerability is very valuable because it lets people know that you are human at times. Like just because that you're strong doesn't mean it's not heavy. You know what I mean? So however, being weak, weak men make terrible decisions, and weak men do awful things. Weak men use power. That's not vulnerability. That's weakness. Yeah. So I always say weak things break, and it's always important to know that it's not okay to be weak, and you know that, and you don't do anything about it. Right. That's not a good equation. However, being vulnerable with somebody is deeply valuable because it inspires and instills loyalty. Yeah. Where they're like, damn, do you remember when this happened? Or do you remember when this person died? Or do you remember when you had that episode? And it's just you and them. And it's like, yeah, man, it's like, man, that shit got me, but I'm here for you. And it's like, yeah dude, like it's pumping me up now because I have friends that are like that. It's very few, but I do.
So growing up, I really didn't.
You didn't? What?
No. And there's such so that's a time for another podcast.
Yeah.
Into it. Yeah. But one of the biggest things for men is loneliness. Yeah. Even if they have a group of friends or they have a family, a lot of times they still feel lonely.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to share those deep things. And the best antidote to loneliness is community.
Yeah.
And when I do these men's groups and when I go to the weekends, there is something about being vulnerable that shows this authenticity that like, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm going through this stuff. And oftentimes the other person listening, the other man is going like, oh shit, I feel that too.
Yeah.
Like I'm so insecure about this, or man, I hated when she did that to me too. And there's this bond that starts to develop, and that deepness and that loyalty and that connection that you get with another man that's like, oh shit, I'm carrying this shit on my back too. And now we get to walk together. That connection and that community is so healing. And that's really my main goal, is to get more men to speak up about what's going on in a safe way.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just start blasting it on social media or
That's
telling
a
the guy
killer.
on the subway, like, or,
Yeah.
in line next to you. Like, that is not the way to do it. Find a safe place in a trusting environment, to dive deep into a lot of stuff that are bothering you. And I can guarantee you, your life will absolutely start to change in a direction that will serve you and that you want.
I agree, and I like that I do like that. I think though, I have this mentality, and I've had it for a long time. I'm reading David Goggins' book right now, which isn't helping either.
Oh man,
with this very subject.
Yeah,
I have always been, me personally, in the way that I've trained over the years. You're not going to outwork me. You're not going to outsuffer me. You're not going to do it. But so I've done that, that's kind of been my MO for a very long time. I'm a master of nothing, but I'm good at fucking everything. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, "Have you done that before?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "All right, cool." And then I do it, and they're like, "Wow, those, whatever."
Yep.
So the thing is I think more men need to be like, yo, it's okay to just be a bad motherfucker. Like, it's okay to get out there, push yourself, push your mind and you know what's even better? I like getting together on Sundays. I mean, we've talked about this. Sundays,
I'm coming through.
Everybody get together and you just do fucking just bad motherfucker shit. You know what I mean? You just push yourself. There's some, as a man, anybody, but as a man, there's something to that afterwards. 100%. And if you're with a good group of buddies or good group of people, and you PR or you move something or do something or push something you never done before, and the right support is around, that you did something, you accomplished something, and being like, yeah, and done. Like, there's something amazing, and I've been around that for the past 12 or at least 10 years now, 15 years now, and it's helped me so much with other relationships, with other things, and with other people, and especially men. Especially men. There's something to that, man. Training and pushing yourself every day, every other day, whatever it is, whatever you can get there. There's such a mental benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some magic there. I'm sure there's some biological. I mean, Andrew Huberman could probably cover that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why sports teams, do so well.
They
like,
get pumped, dude.
Right? They get pumped. They're together all the time. They're in the weight room trying to hit PRs, but they have this common goal to get to the championship and get that. I mean, purpose, right?
Yeah.
Argentina.
Oh my God! You see
the best
That's crazy.
World Cup I've ever seen in my life.
I only watched the highlights. I can't say that I did.
Right. Either way, it was like
amazing.
Going to the overtime for penalty kicks and Messi, finally getting it. Like, that wasn't just him though. That was his team.
Entire team.
Right? And that energy and that cohesiveness is so huge. So I just went to New York City, like I told you earlier, to watch the Knicks play the Golden State Warriors, right? And The Knicks won, just outright. They were dunking and
Obviously.
shooting 3-pointers left and right. Yeah.
Duh.
But, I mean, it was different because Curry wasn't on the court, and he's such a big piece of that. And what I saw when I was watching was he was still there at the game. He had a jacket on, but he was still getting up. He was animated about the game. He was giving fist bumps. Like, that guy is not just good at shooting 3-pointers. He's good around getting the team to move together. And again, there's that magic, and there's hundreds of ways to create that. LeBron does that too. It's how you lead. And my guess is, just to bring it back to full circle, they're probably leading with authenticity and vulnerability.
Yes.
They're not being this like super alpha jerk, like, oh, you whatever. They're probably being real, and the more real that they are, and the more like weak they appear, like, oh, they're not perfect at everything. Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
They're showing like, yeah, man, I'm hustling. I'm pushing I'm pushing myself too. Like, you do that, and that there's something really inspiring in that.
There is, especially with the practices. Like I said, imagine the practices in there. Practice. So it's one of those things, practice makes progress.
Yeah.
But also you have everybody working for a similar purpose, whether it be Argentina playing and freaking killing it, which the video of afterwards, people in the streets, I got chills. I just got chills again.
Yeah.
Just talking about it. The just everybody coming together. That's good leadership. That's patriotism. That's everything.
Yeah.
But as far as with coming together and men pushing themselves and people, I think there is a huge mental utility in that. And I think, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I do think that this has kind of become, maybe in the past 5 years, something that's a negative. People are going, this is a negative thing. And I disagree. I disagree very strongly on that, where I think that, and I know why, I know perhaps some of the reasons why, but I do think for a lot of people, some of the best people that I know, and I'm going to quote Jordan Peterson. There's a painting of Jordan Peterson right behind him, that you should be a monster, but you should know how to yield that. You should know how to control that, because I think that's so valuable. Absolutely. However, if some, just couch surfing, judgment, spiteful, bitter man is on a couch, watching the UFC saying, oh, I could do that, and never tested himself and does this, he's going to be a real bitter person. And that is weak, and that's not okay. That's not vulnerable. That's weak. No. You're just being weak.
Yeah, there's a saying that was going around a little bit that hard time create hard men.
Hard times create hard men. Weak times create
good times create weak men.
Yeah.
Weak men
create hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cycle. We got it. We butchered it. We totally butchered
Google
it.
That.
Yeah. Google that, guys. Yeah, that one. It'll come up. No, and I agree with the statement that we are trying to make.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it's true though. But I think that getting together and being strong in everybody, the purpose is trying to become a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
Makes a strong man.
Totally.
Yeah. So we've touched on a couple of different things with some things that you and I have talked about before, which cold therapy, sauna, mental health, men's mental health, grip strength in training.
Yeah.
People in elderly people, which I, all of those subjects, I can talk for hours, probably not right now, but probably still bad. So with those things, all of those things being very important in our line of work, what is your one of your favorite people to learn from and to train from and stuff? And then I always ask this question, especially to other trainers: if you had to pick 2 exercises, 2 movements to do and tell your clients to do, what would it be? And I know this is getting real childish, like, hey, what would you do? But I got to know,
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite? One of your favorite?
So yeah, kind of like
Instagram
mentor or
Yeah.
or someone I look up to for fitness. It's really close. So I gotta say two.
Okay.
So one is Nick Tomilino.
Nick Tomilino.
So he's not as well known, and I think he trains down in either Florida or Rhode Island, or both.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really love about him is that he's like really geared towards the general population. So a lot of certifications are all sports based.
Yeah.
Because that's how
that's-
most facilities survive is through sports. But he really gears it towards the general population. And I did a couple of his certifications, and it is no fluff. Like, it's straight, no BS, good information. Like, you can take that day, the same day, and go train someone and have a good workout.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I'd like to do that.
Absolutely. He has a couple certifications that are really good for doing assessments and just for training.
I'd like to do that. Yeah.
Ultimately, something I'm passionate about is creating a ultimate resource for trainers.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many great certifications, and during the pandemic, more coaches had to pivot and put their content out more in a serious way. I would love to digest all that, and for a new trainer coming down the scene, like my cousin, he's thinking about getting into training, is to give them a better resource in the beginning, because doing some of the other certifications that are required, every time I hear I'm not ready, like this. None of that prepared me for dealing with an actual human being in front of me.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
We talked about that before we were on the podcast.
I would love to create a resource. So that's something I'm working on as a side project.
That's a good side project, because
yes.
I'd appreciate that, because
Right?
I was trenches,
Me too.
learning,
Sink
and
or swim.
You sink or swim,
And it doesn't
was
have to be like that.
and it doesn't, and I don't want it to be that way.
I don't either.
Yeah,
It's unnecessary. It doesn't serve the client, doesn't serve the trainer. Man, I'm uber passionate about it. So I'd love to talk to you more about that.
about his certification. I would like that a lot.
Yeah,
I would like that a lot.
I'll give it to you after this. And
Yeah.
then other one is Dr. Jon Russin.
Okay, Russin, yeah.
Yeah, so I did his PPSC, pain performance specialist.
How was that?
Excellent. Like, he's a little bit more meatheadish, I feel.
Love it. All right, sweet, sweet. I can't wait to do that shit. I'm meatheadish. Yeah.
It's not Gen Pop friendly.
Okay.
Not to say that you couldn't translate it, but man, I think he's just at the forefront of training, and he's coming out with different certifications all the time, and good quality ones. Again, things that you can use the next day. I love stuff like that. And he's recruiting some of the best trainers in the country. Like, I mean, they have like 50 certifications after their name. They've been in the industry for decades. I'm sure he's cutting them in on a good deal. He's basically starting an empire right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would have to look into that one too. Although I like a good meat
You would love
heady.
it, man. I'm telling you.
Actually, the next one I'm going to do is Dr. McGill. I'm going to do his.
That's great.
I'm such a my facility. We focus primarily on making sure people's spines stay very, very strong.
Yeah.
It's that cross between that general pop and also like a weightlifter. Meatheady meets the general pop.
Nice.
So in that way they can focus on longevity and strength. And then obviously Mike Robertson's one was very good. It was the breathing was really helpful.
It's huge.
Talking to him about the breathing techniques and stuff. It's like filling where can you fill up with air, and actually allow that air to come out. We talked a lot about energy, weaknesses and things like that, and assessments, which was extremely helpful for me. I like those two. I'll have to check those out. Now, 2 exercises.
Yeah.
You get 2.
Yep.
Okay, only 2, and this is
Gotcha.
just a silly childish game that I like to play.
Yep.
2 exercises, anyone.
All right.
Anyone.
So number one, just because I love them, and I do think it kind of gets total body. You can progress it. You do have to learn how to do it properly. There's also different variations, but it's going to be the deadlift. Right?
A man after my own heart. Yeah.
So,
good one. I like that.
You got your grip strength. You're using your whole body. It's getting the posterior chain. Like, it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. my second exercise is going to actually be forest bathing.
Really?
So it's not like so walking, I think, is one of the most underrated exercises that you can do.
Yeah.
And I read an article by CFSC, Mike Boyle certification. I did that one too. And basically in Japan, they did a study around forest bathing and walking for, I think it's like 30 or 40 minutes, 3 times per week, literally increases your immunity. So they took blood samples and they can like unequivocally say, yes, your immune system is stronger because you're doing that. There's something about, humans and connecting to nature, but also walking, it's really good lubricator, like McGill says, for your low back. It's excellent. So if you have no time to do anything else, or you not sure where to start for exercise, just get outside and start walking. But if you can add nature into it, you're going to be so far ahead of the game.
Even better. Yeah, I like that. I like that one. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
So that was a shocking one for me. I'll be honest. It's like, holy shit, And I do talk a lot about walking and stuff being one of the most underutilized thing for heart health. And just the simple thing of caloric expenditure.
Yeah.
So if you have it, some people are like, I don't need to run. You shouldn't be running.
Yeah.
You are 130 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
That's going to really, and you don't even know how to run yet. Right. So let's start with the walking first. Just walking. Yes. I actually, this podcast might come out before the other one. I had a guy, all he's done is walk. He's just walked an hour a day and he's lost 101 pounds now.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
I mean, and it's just walking. And he worked out with me twice a week. That's it. So I like that. I mean, mine in the past when I talked with Jon Manine, who you know too, phenomenal physical therapist, great guy.
Yeah,
I said, I think I said heavy carry. I think I said deadlifts, heavy carries, something along those lines, and I think I said front squats too. Because front squats variation is one of those things that if I had to take away all the squats, I would add front squats because of all the work it does on the midsection. It completely connects everything.
Yeah.
But deadlift for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Deadlift or a heavy carry for sure.
Yeah.
It's got to go in there. Now I don't give a shit how meatheady that sounds. So I mean, Jon, seriously, this was great, and I would like to do this again.
For sure.
Because we do have to cover a little bit more material, I think. Yeah. I want to get into some of the stuff that we were talking about with training, and I need to look at that cert too, because I've been trying to do something that's a little bit more for Gen Pop. Is that online too?
Yeah.
And does he do it in person too? Do you know?
That I'm not sure of, but he definitely has his certifications online.
Okay.
He has an assessment and sort of a working out with Gen Pop, but he also breaks it down into small group stuff, which I know you'll like.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like literally done for you templates, but he gives his logic behind it.
Got it.
And it's just, man, if I had this day one as a trainer,
you would have been much better off.
I would have been so far ahead of the game. It's unfortunate. That's why I'm so passionate about getting this resource together and for helping newer trainers on the scene. Again, it's going to help trainers stay in the industry longer. They're not going to feel as lost, and they're going to be able to serve their clients better and not, they don't know what they don't know.
Why don't you and I talk about this? That'll be something that let's talk about, because I have a facility and you'll have the facility to do that, where we can facilitate that type of growth. Yeah. And I think that we could either host stuff or seminars or working with General Pop or do those types of things, because that's primarily what I work with. Yeah. Occasionally athletes and occasional stuff like that. Same. And let's talk a little further about that.
For sure.
Jon, seriously, thanks, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
I really, really appreciate it. And we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. Good stuff, brother.
All right.
Later.